The nikud in Hebrew is a system of vowel marks, dots and lines, placed above, below, inside, or around Hebrew consonants. They tell you which vowel sounds to use, because written Hebrew normally omits such marks. In modern Hebrew, vowels are not written out in everyday texts, but for beginners, a lot of texts often include the nikud to help with pronunciation. Essentially, because Hebrew is written with only consonants, the same letters can form many different words, depending on the nikud, so the meaning between words can vary. Since the alphabet primarily represents consonants, the nikud fills in the missing vowel sounds. Each nikud symbol represents a vowel sound, and it always appears with a letter. However, it's important to understand how the nikud works, along with how to use it. In the beginning, it would be simple to read Hebrew text with the nikud, but actually writing it may be a challenge. For this reason, native speakers rely on context and word patterns to read Hebrew without it. So, while there may be many symbols in the nikud, it's only a matter of practice in reading Hebrew that will allow you to understand how Hebrew writing fully works. For this lesson, I will use this website, Niqqud, Mahir, also known as Quick Point. It's a simple text body where you can write anything in Hebrew, and it will show the text with the correct nikud. I recommend using it and installing a Hebrew language pack on your device to type in Hebrew. Nonetheless, you have to know the Hebrew alphabet and its letters before this lesson, because without it, the sounds that the nikud makes in Hebrew will be very difficult to understand. I already made a video about the alphabet, and I would recommend watching it before proceeding with this lesson. Before explaining the nikud, there is one element that I mentioned with the alphabet that needs to be shown first, and then we can go on with the nikud, and that is the dagesh. I did not explain it with the alphabet because it's part of the nikud, and now it's the perfect time to explain it. The dagesh is a vital part of Hebrew pronunciation and spelling, and understanding it will give you deeper insight into how Hebrew works phonetically and grammatically. The dagesh is a small dot placed inside a consonant letter, typically the center. Its purpose varies depending on the letter and the context, but in general, it can do one of two things: strengthen a consonant, known as gemination or doubling a sound, or change its pronunciation, light versus strong. Essentially, there are two types of the dagesh: a light dagesh and a strong dagesh. A light dagesh changes the pronunciation of 6 specific letters, while a strong dagesh can indicate that a consonant is geminated in pronunciation, making it hard. When looking at which letters can change their pronunciation, Hebrew has the following acronym: Begad Kefat. Begad Kefat, consisting of the letters Bet, Gimel, Daled, Kaf, Pei, Taf. These are the letters that are affected by the light dagesh, so they can change their pronunciation with it. Without a dagesh, they are softer, but with it, they are harder. Let's analyze the letters. With a dagesh, the pronunciation of each letter is B, G, D, K, P, T. To make the letters have vowel sounds, we need the nikud, which I will explain in a few moments. These are the pronunciations of the letters with a dagesh, a dot in the center of the letters. However, without a dagesh, the pronunciation of the letters changes. Without a dagesh, the pronunciation of each letter is V, soft G, Th, Ch, as in Bach, F, and Th. These are the pronunciations of the letters without a dagesh. And in modern Hebrew, the pronunciation for Gimel, Daled, and Taf has mainly disappeared, so you'll hear them in both forms with no difference. In other words, Gimel, Daled, and Taf basically have no difference when pronounced in modern Hebrew, so you should focus on Bet, Kaf, Pei, as they have a true sounding difference in pronunciation. Still, you should know that there is the letter Shin, which is also affected by a light dagesh, but instead of being placed inside the letter, the dot changes position from right to left. For instance, the word Shalom has the letter Shin with a dot on the right, which is the true pronunciation of the letter, Sh. But with a dagesh, on the left side, the pronunciation will change to sin, like in the word safa, safa, language, making it change the pronunciation from sh to s. Now, let's see the strong dagesh. The strong dagesh causes the doubling of a consonant, known as gemination, and while native speakers don't usually pronounce the doubling, it still affects grammar and word meaning. For instance, this word, malka, malka, queen, has the letter kaf with a dagesh because of rude behavior. Another example is the word siper, siper, he told, which has a doubled p from the root samech pei resh. Overall, this is how the dagesh fully works in Hebrew, considering that it's part of the nikud. And now, we can finally begin explaining the nikud. The nikud is a solid foundation for making vowel sounds, and in this lesson, I'll explain each vowel mark and how it's used with consonants. Allow me to remind you that you do need some knowledge of the alphabet before proceeding with this lesson. If you haven't done so already, you can watch my previous video where I showed the alphabet. When it comes to the nikud, each symbol represents a vowel sound, appearing with every letter. But first, let's look at every vowel sound that can be produced both in English and Hebrew. A, E, I, O, U. These are vowel sounds, and to represent them in Hebrew, we'll take a look at the symbols that make such sounds. Let's begin with the A vowel sound. To make the A vowel sound in Hebrew, two symbols exist for it: Kamatz and patach. Kamatz, patach. Try not to focus so much on the name, but more on the sound itself. Kamatz makes a long A sound like in the word ba, with a dagesh. Ba, ba. He came. The symbol looks like a plus sign, placed under a letter, and in context, it sounds like a long A sound. Ba. Remember, a symbol of any kind can apply to any letter, so the kamatz can apply to any consonant. Next, we have patach, which makes a short A sound, like in the word abba, with a dagesh. Abba, abba, dad or father. The symbol is a flat line, placed under a letter, and in context, it sounds like a short A sound. Abba. This is how the A sound is made in Hebrew, using the nikud, and we can check the words for accuracy. As you can see, the words are written with the correct nikud, and in this case, I'm transliterating them so you can read them with English letters. Over time, you will get used to reading Hebrew letters as they are, but for now, I'm just using transliteration for beginners. As a useful note, it's worth pointing out that in case you forget one vowel sound, remember the name of the nikud, because its pronunciation causes the sound itself. Kamatz makes a long A. A, kamatz. A, kamatz. Patach makes a short A sound. A, patach. A, patach. Let's continue with the E vowel sound. To make the E vowel sound in Hebrew, there are two symbols, tserei and segol. Tserei, segol. Tserei makes an A sound like in the word ben, with a dagesh. Ben, ben, boy or son. The symbol has two horizontal dots, placed under a letter, and in context, it sounds like A, ben. Don't forget that a symbol of any kind can apply to any letter. Next, we have segol, which makes an E sound, like in the word sefer, book. Sefer, sefer. The symbol has three dots, placed under a letter, and in context, it sounds like E. Sefer, sefer. This is how the S sound is made in Hebrew, using the nikud, and as you can see, the words are written with the correct nikud. If you forget the vowel sound, the name of the nikud causes the sound itself. Tserei makes an A. A, tserei. A, tserei. Segol makes an e, segol, segol. Let's continue with the E vowel sound. To make the E vowel sound in Hebrew, there's only one symbol. Chirik. Chirik. Chirik makes an E sound like in the word shir. Shir. Song. The symbol is just one dot, placed under a letter, and in context, it sounds like E. Shir. Don't forget that a symbol of any kind can apply to any letter. This is how the E sound is made in Hebrew, using the nikud, and as you can see, the word is written with the correct nikud. If you forget the vowel sound, the name of the nikud causes the sound itself. Chirik makes an E. E. Chirik. E. Chirik. Let's continue with the O vowel sound. To make the O vowel sound in Hebrew, there are two ways to do so. Cholam, one dot, placed near the top of a letter, or cholam malei, the letter vav, which will have a dot placed on top. Both ways produce the same sound. O. O. In my alphabet video, I explained the concept of how vav can function as a vowel, sounding like O or U, and I would highly recommend that you learn this concept by watching the previous video, because now it will be very handy. When simply using cholam, we place a dot near the top of the letter that will have the O sound, like in the word lo, lo, no. Don't forget that a symbol of any kind can apply to any letter, and as a note, not many Hebrew words use cholam to represent the O vowel sound. Most Hebrew words will use cholam malei, vav with a dot, because simply using cholam comes from the nikud found in biblical Hebrew. What you will see in modern Hebrew is cholam malei, which is vav with a dot. When using this symbol, we begin a word with a consonant and then apply vav with a dot, like in the word gol, gol, gol. This is how the O sound is made in Hebrew, using the nikud, and as you can see, the words are written with the correct nikud. If you forget the vowel sound, the name of the nikud causes the sound itself. Both cholam and cholam malei make an O. O, cholam. O, cholam malei. Let's continue with the U vowel sound. To make the U vowel sound, there are two ways to do so. Shuruk, the letter vav with a dot in the left center, and kubutz, 3 descending dots. Both ways produce the same sound. U. U. When using shuruk, we begin a word with a consonant and then apply vav with a dot, like in the word sus. Sus. Horse. Don't forget that a symbol of any kind can apply to any letter, and as a note, the shuruk is the most used form that represents the U sound. I'm mentioning this because when it comes down to kubutz, this symbol, 3 descending dots, is very rare in modern Hebrew. In fact, kubutz was used a lot in biblical Hebrew and it didn't really get preserved in modern Hebrew. So in general, you should focus more on the shuruk. Still, it doesn't mean that you will not see it, because when using the kubutz, we place the 3 descending dots under a letter, like in the word sulam, sulam, ladder. And actually, this is the old way of writing the word. When writing the word with the nikud, the text generates the word with the kubutz, even highlighting the letter vav, which is obsolete in the word. Overall, you can just focus on the shuruk, because you will see it way more. So this is how the U sound is made in Hebrew using the nikud. If you forget the vowel sound, the name of the nikud causes the sound itself. Both shuruk and kubutz make an U. U. Kubutz. U. Shuruk. Now that we know the basic vowel sounds that Hebrew can produce with the nikud, there's actually a branch of special vowel sounds that you can also find in Hebrew, and we need to cover it. Such vowel sounds are similar to the sounds I just showed, but the difference is in the symbols. Such sounds are Chataf vowels, which are mostly found in biblical Hebrew. There are vowel sounds like Chataf Kamatz, Chataf, patach, and Chataf, segol, affecting the A sound and S sound. When looking at their symbols, their function is to produce very short sounds from their original pronunciation, which can deviate in speech. For instance, Chataf, Kamatz is a symbol of two dots and a plus sign placed under a letter, producing an O sound, like in the word choli, choli, sickness. Oppositely, Chataf patach is a symbol of two dots and a line, placed under a letter, producing a very short A sound, like in the word chasid, chasid, the vowel one. A different example is Chataf segol, a symbol of multiple dots, placed under a letter, producing a very short S sound, like in the word emet, emet, truth. I mentioned these additional sounds because it is important to know that when you learn to read Hebrew, biblical and modern Hebrew may blend symbols and sounds when written. So now you can know what they mean without confusion. Aside from the Chataf vowels, Hebrew has a final special vowel sound which is found in many words, and that is the shva. The shva consists of two vertical dots which represents a silent sound, like in the word malka, malka, which silences the letter lamed. Malka, malka, l, l. This symbol can apply to any letter, and it silences the sound of any consonant. And a silent sound can also be indicated if a letter has no symbols whatsoever. If you forget this vowel sound, the name of the nikud causes the sound itself. Shva makes a silent sh sound. Shva, shva, sh, sh. Now that we know the entirety of the nikud in Hebrew, we can finally apply it to context. And I should say that it's better to start using the nikud by reading Hebrew first. To fully understand how the nikud works, it is up to you to practice reading Hebrew if you want to comprehend the system. After knowing the nikud, it's not something that's taught, but rather practiced through trial and error. So rather than writing the nikud, practice reading Hebrew text with the nikud, so you understand the pronunciation and word patterns. If you do want to write Hebrew words with the nikud, be careful with the symbols you use to write each sound. But again, I recommend that you first read Hebrew. In modern Hebrew, the nikud can be found in kids' books and textbooks for Hebrew learners, but you will not find it in newspapers, signs, websites, and everyday texting. For beginners, start with the nikud because it teaches pronunciation, allowing you to learn basic vowel sounds and how they appear in different letters. As you gain confidence, you can start reading Hebrew without the nikud and practice reading aloud to internalize the sounds. As a way to end the lesson, I'll give two sets of examples where you can try reading Hebrew words without transliteration, but with the nikud. Later, I will break down each word with the nikud and explain how each sound affects each letter within the word. Let's begin with basic words that have the nikud. Try reading them out loud and see if you can pronounce them correctly. Now, I will pronounce them. Shalom, shalom. Sefer, sefer. Ima, ima. Melech, melech. Torah, Torah. Now, let's break down their nikud. Shalom begins with a kamatz. Shah continues with lamed and vav that uses holam malay to make an o sound. Lo, finishing with mem sofit, or final mem. Shalom, 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 shalom. Also, we have shin with the sound of sh, and we know that because the dagesh is on the right side of the letter. Sefer begins with tserei, se continues with a segol, fe, and concludes with r. Sefer, 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 sefer. Also, there is no dagesh in pei, so the pronunciation changes to f. Ima begins with chirik, I continues with kamatz, ma, and ends with a silent aleph in the end. Ima, 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 ima. Melech begins with segol, me, continues with segol, le, and finishes with chaf, sofit, which has no dagesh, making a silent ch sound. Ch. Me, le, ch. Me, le, ch. Melech, melech. Torah begins with tav and vav that uses cholam maleh to make an o sound. To continues with kamatz, ra, and finishes with hey, which is often silent at the end of a word. Torah, Torah. This is the first set of examples, and we can even check its nikud. Now, let's fully finish with the second set, which is more advanced. Here are 10 short Hebrew phrases with the nikud to help you practice reading. Try reading them out loud and see if you can pronounce them correctly. Now, I will pronounce them. Bait gadol, bait gadol. Sefer chadash, sefer chadash. Kelev katan, kelev katan. Hayeled ratz, hayeled ratz. Ima babait, ima babait. Mayim karim, mayim karim. Hasefer tov, hasefer tov. Yom yafe, yom yafe. Hatalmid kotev, hatalmid kotev. Hayeled shar, hayeled shar. Now, let's see the translation of the words, so we can take the text and plug it into a translator to fully see the accuracy. Overall, this is how the nikud fully works in Hebrew, and in the next videos, we can proceed with basic concepts now that we understand the nikud. Still, don't forget about practicing in reading Hebrew speech so that you can entirely encompass this principle, because future concepts may omit the nikud. In upcoming videos, I will be using Hebrew text with the nikud to make your learning very simple.